If you have played this video, chances are you are trying to get your finances together. Learning how to budget is the only way that you're going to figure out where you are financially and the steps you need to take in order to achieve the financial goals you set for yourself. Budgeting is incredibly unsexy. If you're just starting out, the first month is probably going to be very rough, but I promise you, you will get the hang of it. You will start to feel comfortable enough with your finances where it won't feel like such a task, and you will see financial results, okay? I'm Ajadang, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm excited to post this updated beginner's guide to budgeting video. Personal finance is all about making personal financial decisions. So if you have to adjust certain things here and there, go ahead and do that. But I really do hope that you stay as close to kind of the template that I'm going to be talking about, because I know for a fact that it is the best way to figure out not only how to budget, how to figure out your own budget, but also how to stick to that budget, okay? The first thing that you have to do if you are wanting to build a budget, and it is to go through every single bank statement that you have and figure out where your income is coming from and where your expenses are going. And I'm talking about every single bank statement. Not only your everyday bank statements that you probably have for your checking account and maybe your savings account, but also your investment statements, also your utility bills, any type of paperwork that says, this is how much money you're bringing in and this is how much money you're going out. Get them. I like to go back kind of 3 months into my bank statements just so I can get a good average as to what I'm spending. I feel like when you go back 3 months, you can at least kick out those anomalies that don't happen every month, and then get a better sense of what your monthly spending is. Okay, so once you gather all your statements, you're gonna figure out your income. What are you pulling in every single month through your various income streams? If you are someone that has a stable income, budgeting is going to be pretty easy because you're just going to base your monthly income based on how much you make every month, right? But if you're someone like me who doesn't get paid every month, who doesn't get paid the same amount every month, this is going to take a little bit more work. And if you're someone who has a few side hustles on top of your main job, you need to figure out how much extra money you're bringing in through those side hustles. I know I said go back 3 months, but for income purposes, I would actually just really take a good look about what your year looked like and figure out what your lowest income month was, because that is what you want to base your budget off of. If your lowest income was $4,000, base your monthly budget off of that $4,000. Anything you make extra is gonna go towards financial goals, which is amazing. So if your lowest month was $4,000 and then maybe like next month you make $10,000, you have $6,000 extra to play around with to reach your financial goals, instead of kind of struggling to catch up to an income amount that you don't consistently make. After you list out your income, you're going to list out your expenses. If you've never budgeted before, it's really eye-opening and kind of painful to realize how much money you spend on certain things. So this is going to take a while, especially if you go back a few months like I recommend. But first, before you go through your statements, I want you to list out expense categories that you're going to use for budgeting. We have housing, utilities, transportation, food. You can either have a category that is just food. I like to split my food categories into groceries and dining out. If you have pets, please remember to include your pets, medical, insurances. If you have debts, you're gonna collect all your debt minimums. Maybe you have a category for education. You definitely want a category for savings. You definitely want to have a category for retirement. And then some other miscellaneous things would be personal, fun spending, and then you can just have a category that is actually miscellaneous, which I have as well. So those are all category expenses that you'll want to take note of. And then as you go through your bank statements or credit card statements line by line, every time you have an expense, find the category in which that expense most aligns with and just make note of that and write it down. And I would separate them by months because you never know, again, every month is different, and then you can get a good sense of what you're spending per category. The moment you look at how much you are spending is the moment that you actually take charge of your financial life. I always say this when I talk about this step is The moment that I actually built my very first budget was the moment that I actually gained a lot of self-confidence in myself, because something that I was ignoring for so long, which was paying off my debt, I now felt like I was starting to handle it and take control of it. And there is no better feeling in the world than actually starting to believe that you can accomplish something that you thought you would never be able to accomplish ever in your life. I thought I was going to be in debt for the rest of my life. And then the moment I built my very first budget, I was like, why did I take so long to put this off? This seems doable. But once you figure out your income, once you figure out your expenses, you're going to subtract your income from your expenses. If you have a negative number, that means you are spending more than you are making. And not only is it time to cut expenses, it's also time to make more money. If you realize that you don't have any extra money at the end of the month to add towards your financial goals, you need to cut expenses and you need to start making more money. If you realize that you still have a surplus at the end of the month, but it is not nearly enough to accomplish your financial goals in the amount of time that you want to accomplish your financial goals, say it with me now. It's time to cut your expenses and it's time to make more money. I hate when people talk about budgeting and they say all you have to do is cut expenses and then you're going to become a millionaire. That is not going to happen. You can not go to the coffee shop every single day for the next 30 years and you will still not own a house if you don't make more money, okay? So today we are just focusing on budgeting and figuring out where you can cut expenses, but just know that the next step after this, if you need to, is figuring out what ways you can add more money into your life in order to accomplish your financial goals. Now, if you're looking at your expenses and you're like, I have no idea what I need to do, what I need to cut. I don't know, like, in comparison to other people, if me spending this much on food is reasonable or not. I would recommend kind of basing your budget off of the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your income should go towards your needs. 30% will go towards your wants, and then 20% will go towards your financial goals. So using that 50-30-20 rule, let's assume you make $3,000 a month. So $1,500 of that will go towards your needs, $900 of that will go towards your wants, and then $600 will go towards your financial goals. Depending on where you live in the world, you might have to adjust those ratios to make it more realistic for you. But just know that you can base your initial budget off of a rule similar to that, and then figure out, okay, well, I'm spending a little bit too much on my wants, so we can cut from that. Or maybe you're like, wow, I actually do spend a lot on, I don't know, utilities, so let's figure out how to cut from there. Now, the good news is that I feel like the hardest part is done. You know how much you're making every month, you know how much you spend every month, and you kind of get a good vibe as to where you need to cut in your budget in order to accomplish your financial goals. But now it's time to start tracking your progress. Now it's time to hold yourself accountable and start doing what you know you need to do, okay? There are a few ways to budget. I think one of the easiest ways is to download a budgeting app. I'll go ahead and link in the description box some budgeting apps that people recommend, but I am a pen to paper type of girl. I love a good budget planner. The act of me writing things down makes me acknowledge them a little bit more. So that kind of helped me take control of my finances personally. So that's why I'm a huge proponent of budgeting planners. If you have any type of budgeting planner, you should have a monthly budgeting page that looks like this. So with the example that we just talked about, saying maybe you make $3,000 a month, you would put your monthly income up here, and then you would put those expense categories that we talked about in the expense section. This middle section right here is where you're going to put those numbers that you estimated you want to spend on certain categories. So based on the 50-30-20 rule, here is kind of some estimates that using this example would be accurate. So $1,500 would be divided amongst needs. Wants would be, again, 30%. And then money goals is 20%. Then you won't actually fill out this actual section until the end of the month when all your expenses are done. But let's say we fast forward to March 31st and you calculate everything, and this is actually what you end up spending through the month. So rent, utilities, and insurance, things like that should all be pretty consistent. But maybe after the month ends, you realize that there are certain categories in which you underspend and overspent. So groceries is one that was overspent. So maybe your estimated goal of only spending $100 a month of groceries is just not feasible. Maybe you tried so hard and you still overspent on your budget, and that is okay, right? Now we can adjust to make things a little bit more realistic for you and for your life. So maybe for the month of April, instead of having an estimated spend goal of $100 for groceries, it's $200 for groceries, and then you just make adjustments elsewhere in your budget to accommodate that. Fortunately, if we look at your wants, you underspent on all of your wants, which is amazing. So that means if you want to adjust your groceries for the month of April's budget, you totally do that. And then everything else, the extra money, you can actually add towards your financial goals right here. So you can decide which one you want to focus that extra money on, and then you adjust it into your estimated expense categories there. Within your budget planner, if that's the way you want to go, you should also have kind of a weekly expense tracker within any budget planner that you have. And here you would just add the categories you have, and then write down every time you spend money on something. You would write it down, make notes, and then at the end of the week, you would just tally it up. And then your weekly expense trackers for every week will then be added together, and that's where you get your actual numbers here. I have done a bunch of budgeting videos of my personal budgets during my debt-free journey. So if you need a little bit more clarity, and what I'm talking about doesn't really make sense because sometimes it's confusing myself, check the cards above. Another way to track your budget that is not a budget planner, that is not an app, is an expense tracker. This again is the one I built. You can buy them on Etsy, or maybe you just build one yourself. They should all have the same categories as an app does, as a budget planner does. It really just depends on how you feel like you'll be able to stay consistent with your budget the best. So again, we have income, expenses, savings, and investment categories. Every time you spend money on something or income comes in, you would make note of that. Spent $10 at Ralph's, that would be an expense. That came from whatever bank, and this would be a subcategory of groceries. And then similar to the monthly budget, this expense tracker has an annual budget broken down into months, and it auto-populates so you don't have to do the math yourself. In the budget planner, we have an estimated section. In this Excel tracker specifically, there is a projected section in which you would put your estimated numbers into the projected section. So following what we just did on the budget planner, let's go to, we said projecting housing to be 1,000, utilities, what did we say utilities was? 100. Let's look at this food and drink section. As I add more expense categories into this, so let's say I went to get sushi, and I magically only spent $20 at a sushi restaurant. And then you can see this has been automatically adjusted due to what you put in the daily tracker. I don't mean to overwhelm you, but all this to say, once you figure out your budget and you figure out your goals per category and your financial goals just for the next few months or few years, there are different ways that you can use that'll help you track your budget, and you can try all three. I have, and figure out which one works best for you. I tried the apps. I didn't love them. I love my physical planner. So once you build your budget and figure out how exactly you want to track your budget, now it's just kind of time to live your life and see where your money is going. It's also important to realize that now that you're taking control of your finances, it's really important to look ahead in the future to see what you might be spending on in the next couple months. So pay attention to birthdays, holidays, trips, maybe girls' night outs that you're planning, all the things, and then make adjustments accordingly into your budget. And that's it. That is how you build a budget, and that is how you set yourself up to successfully budget as you are trying to accomplish your financial goals. This may take a while to get used to, because if you've never budgeted before and if you've never held yourself accountable for your money, it definitely will feel very weird and very frustrating in the beginning. But I promise you, you may actually start to enjoy yourself because you're realizing, wow, I have full control over what I am spending my money on and where I'm putting my money once I get it. And I'm realizing that I can actually make really good financial decisions that benefit me in the long run and help me accomplish my financial goals. In the description box, I will link the budget digital planner. I'll link the budget Excel spreadsheet. And then last year, we actually did a 30-day debt payoff challenge. And if you want to do that, I will link that. It's free. I'll link it in the description box as well, and you can do that at your own pace. I am ajadang. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.